Welcome to the channel, friends. This is the third part of our series about 10-band American, not cars, but pickups. Yes, you heard right. Today, we will talk about pickups. When people think of classic American trucks, they often picture the rugged, reliable machines that helped build post-war America. But not all pickups became champions of success. Some were so dangerous, so poorly made, or had serious flaws that they were eventually banned, discontinued, or simply erased from history. Today, we are looking at pickups from the 1940s and 1950s that automakers would prefer you to forget. Before watching, support the channel by subscribing and liking, click the bell, and be sure to share this video with friends so that we can discuss together the amazing and forgotten pages of automobile history. Let's go! Number 10. 1948. International Harvester KB1 Pickup. When we think of classic American pickup trucks, we usually picture Ford F-Series, Chevy 3100s, or Dodge Power Wagons. But the 1948 International Harvester KB1 pickup deserves a place in the conversation, not as an icon of longevity, but as an example of a truck that time and regulation eventually left behind. The KB1 was part of International Harvester's post-war truck line, built to serve farmers, small businesses, and working-class Americans. On the surface, the KB1 looked like the ideal post-war pickup: durable, functional, and no nonsense. It came with a flathead inline-six engine producing about 73 horsepower, enough to get the job done, but far from impressive by modern standards. Why it faded, and why it's rarely remembered. The International Harvester. KB1 wasn't banned by a government order, but it was effectively erased from the roads by a combination of outdated design, changing safety expectations, and the company's slow adaptation to evolving standards. The KB1 was originally based on a pre-war platform that didn't evolve quickly enough in the years following World War II. It was built for simple hauling and farm work, but it struggled to keep pace with competitors who were rapidly modernizing their trucks with better brakes, improved steering, and more refined suspension systems. Serious shortcomings. Braking systems were notoriously underpowered, especially when loaded. Steering was vague and prone to wandering, which became a real safety issue at higher speeds. The truck's limited cab space and lack of crash protection quickly made it feel outdated by the mid-1950s as consumer expectations shifted towards safer, more comfortable vehicles. International Harvester was slow to update safety features like dual-circuit braking, modern seat construction, or reinforced cab integrity, all of which became industry standards within a decade. As federal and state safety regulations advanced in the 1960s, trucks like the KB1 were quietly retired from the roads, either through natural attrition or because they no longer met evolving safety and performance expectations. No official ban was ever issued, but these trucks simply could not compete in a world that was quickly demanding more than just basic functionality from its work vehicles. Why automakers don't bring it up? The International Harvester KB1 is rarely mentioned today. International Harvester as a brand exited the light truck market in the 1970s, and many of its early pickups have become obscure footnotes. Unlike Ford or Chevrolet, whose early trucks became collectible legends, the KB1 was quietly abandoned, a rugged tool that never made the transition to modern driving. Number 9. 1946 Ford 1/2-ton Pickup. The last of a simpler era, ton pickup holds a unique place in American automotive history. It was the first civilian pickup Ford produced after World War II, but in many ways, it was still a product of the pre-war world. The war had frozen automotive design in place, and when production restarted in 1945, Ford simply continued building what they already had. At first glance, the 1946 Ford 1/2-ton pickup was a solid, trustworthy truck. It was tough, easy to fix, and powered by the famous Ford Flathead Vi-8, delivering around 100 horsepower. For farmers, tradesmen, and small businesses rebuilding after the war, this truck was exactly what they needed: simple, durable transportation with a no-nonsense design. Why it became outdated? Quickly. The problem wasn't that the 1946 Ford pickup was dangerous or poorly made. In fact, for its time, it was considered reliable. But as the automotive world evolved rapidly in the late 1940s and early 1950s, trucks like the 46 Ford quickly became obsolete in terms of comfort, safety, and technology. Here's why the 1946 Ford 1/2-ton pickup quietly disappeared from everyday life and became one of the forgotten early workhorses. Outdated design. The truck's cab was incredibly cramped, with minimal attention to driver comfort. It had manual everything: manual steering, manual brakes, and a stiff, unsophisticated suspension. The braking system was mechanically limited, particularly under load, a serious issue when hauling cargo. Minimal safety. Like most vehicles of its time, it had no seatbelts, no crumple zones, no safety glass standards, and no rollover protection. The steel dashboard and sharp interior edges posed dangers in the event of a collision, even at low speeds. Performance limitations. With a top speed around 55 to 60 miles per hour, it simply wasn't built for modern highway driving. The Flathead 5.8 was legendary for its simplicity, but was soon outpaced by newer, more powerful, and more efficient engines from Ford and its competitors. Why it's considered forgotten. Today, the 1946 Ford 1/2-ton pickup isn't banned or recalled, but it's a truck that the industry moved away from quickly. When Ford launched the revolutionary F-Series trucks in 1948, the design philosophy changed dramatically. The F-Series offered more comfort, better visibility, improved brakes, and the first steps toward the modern pickup as we know it today. The 46 became a relic almost overnight, and as safety standards, road speeds, and consumer expectations climbed, these trucks were quietly retired or scrapped. The 1946 Ford 1/2-ton pickup is not a cautionary tale. It's a time capsule. It represents the final chapter of the pre-war truck era before the American pickup underwent a complete transformation. Though not banned, its design was so quickly overtaken by better, safer, and more modern trucks that it became largely forgotten outside of classic car shows and enthusiast garages. Number 8. 1949 Dodge B-Series pickup. Was Dodge's answer to a post-war America that needed reliable, hard-working trucks. Introduced in 1948 and built until the early 1950s, the B-Series wasn't flashy or famous, but it was one of the most practical trucks of its time. What set the B-Series apart was its innovative pilot house cab design. Dodge engineers raised the roofline and widened the windshield, giving drivers better visibility than almost any other truck on the market. This was a major selling point. At a time when pickups were known for terrible sightlines and cramped cabins, Dodge made visibility and driver space a priority. Why it's important. The 1949 Dodge B-Series was a tough, honest truck. It wasn't about speed or style. It was about getting the job done. Farmers, construction workers, and small businesses relied on it for daily hauling and delivery. It came with a flathead inline-six engine, producing around 95 horsepower, which was solid for the era. The B-Series was also one of the first trucks to offer factory-built configurations with optional custom beds, a step toward the customizable trucks we see today. Why it's rarely remembered. The B-Series isn't on anyone's banned list, but like many work trucks of its time, it was eventually pushed aside by fast-changing safety, comfort, and performance standards. Here's why trucks like the 1949 Dodge B-Series quietly disappeared from American roads. Outdated safety. Like almost all pickups of the 1940s, the B-Series had no seatbelts, no crumple zones, and basic mechanical brakes. The all-steel dash and thin doors provided little protection in an accident. Steering was heavy and imprecise, which made highway speeds feel risky. Performance limitations. The truck was slow by modern standards, maxing out around 55 miles per hour when unloaded. Suspension was stiff and uncomfortable on rough roads. These trucks were built for work, not comfort. Progress. Left it behind. By the mid-1950s, Dodge's new C-Series pickups arrived with sleeker designs, better suspension, improved brakes, and more comfortable interiors. Ford's F-Series and Chevy's Task Force trucks quickly dominated the market, offering faster innovation and higher sales. The B Series served its purpose, but it simply didn't keep pace with the booming post-war truck market. It quietly phased out, overshadowed by more modern designs. Why automakers don't talk about it? There's nothing scandalous about the 1949 Dodge B Series. It wasn't recalled, it wasn't banned, and it wasn't dangerous by the standards of its day. But automakers like Dodge, now Ram, don't often highlight these early pickups because they don't align with today's image of high-powered, high-tech, lifestyle-driven trucks. The B Series was built for work and practicality, not showrooms or Super Bowl commercials. Number 7. 1947 Studebaker M Series Pickup. The 1947 Studebaker M Series pickup is one of those trucks that quietly served America without ever becoming a household name. Produced from the late 1930s through the immediate post-war years, the M Series was Studebaker's last pre-war truck design to remain in production after World War II. While other automakers were introducing bold, new post-war pickups, Studebaker continued to build the M Series with minimal updates until it was replaced in 1949. At its core, the M Series was a dependable, no-frills work truck. It wasn't flashy, but it was built to get the job done, whether that meant hauling farm equipment, lumber, or supplies for small businesses. What made it stand out? Unlike Ford and Chevrolet, Studebaker wasn't one of the big three truck producers, but it offered a unique option with a more aerodynamic, rounded cab design that actually predated many styling trends that would come in the 1950s. The front end had a distinct rounded grille and fenders, giving it a softer, streamlined look compared to the boxy designs of other trucks from the era. The M Series was powered by Studebaker's rugged inline-six engine, which produced roughly 80 to 94 horsepower, depending on the version. It was available in multiple configurations, from light-duty to medium-duty pickups, making it versatile for a variety of industries. Why it faded away? The 1947 Studebaker M Series was not banned, recalled, or considered dangerous, but it quickly became outdated. Here's why trucks like this quietly disappeared from the spotlight. Pre-war design in a post-war world. By 1947, the M Series design was already over a decade old, originally introduced in the late 1930s. Other manufacturers like Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge were launching brand-new, modernized pickups with improved safety, comfort, and styling. Limited resources and production. As a smaller automaker, Studebaker simply didn't have the scale or the resources to aggressively update or promote their trucks in the rapidly growing post-war economy. Their focus soon shifted toward their famous post-war sedans and coupes, like the bullet-nose designs, which pulled company resources away from truck development. Safety was primitive. Like most trucks of the 1940s, the M Series had no seatbelts, basic drum brakes, stiff manual steering, and minimal crash protection. The cab was narrow, seating was tight, and ride comfort was rough, especially compared to the more advanced pickups that emerged just a few years later. Why automakers don't talk about it? Studebaker is often remembered today for their quirky, forward-thinking designs of the 1950s and early 1960s, but their truck legacy is mostly forgotten. The M Series doesn't fit the glamorous or performance-driven narratives that dominate classic truck culture now. Dodge has the Power Wagon, Ford has the F Series, and Chevrolet has its advanced design trucks. But Studebaker's contributions to the truck world often get left out of the conversation. It's not that the M Series was a failure. Far from it. It simply belonged to a time and place that was quickly overshadowed by the explosion of truck innovation in the 1950s. Number 6. 1955. Chevrolet Cameo Carrier wasn't just another pickup. It was a groundbreaking vehicle that helped redefine what a truck could be. Before the Cameo, pickups were strictly utilitarian. They were rough, bare-bones machines built for farm work, hauling, and commercial duty. But the Cameo Carrier changed all of that. It introduced the idea that a truck could be stylish, comfortable, and even luxurious. Launched as part of Chevrolet's revolutionary Task Force series, the Cameo Carrier was a bold experiment. It fused the world of work trucks with the world of passenger cars, and in doing so, it paved the way for the modern pickup we know today. What made it special? 1. First styled pickup. The Cameo Carrier was one of the first pickups to feature car-like design elements. Unlike traditional step-side trucks with exposed wheel wells, the Cameo had smooth fiberglass rear fenders that blended seamlessly with the cab, creating clean, flowing lines that were completely new for the time. 2. Car-like interior. Inside, the Cameo offered two-tone color schemes, a stylish dashboard, and improved seating comfort, features that were almost unheard of in trucks of the era. Chevrolet intentionally designed it to appeal to suburban buyers who wanted a truck for personal use, not just work. 3. Powerful and modern. Under the hood, the Cameo came with Chevrolet's new small-block V8 engine option, the legendary 265 cubic-inch V8. This engine, combined with modern suspension, made the Cameo as enjoyable to drive as many sedans of the era. 4. Advanced styling. The truck featured chrome trim, body-colored bumpers, and a fleet-side bed, all elements that would become standard in trucks decades later. The Cameo was visually striking and still stands out today as one of the best-looking pickups ever made. Why it didn't last. Despite its influence, the Cameo Carrier only lasted until 1958. Here's why. It was expensive. Compared to traditional pickups, the Cameo had a much higher price tag, which limited its market to wealthier buyers. Production was limited. The fiberglass beds were costly and labor-intensive to manufacture, which made mass production difficult. Competition caught up quickly. By the late 1950s, other manufacturers began introducing their own versions of smooth-sided pickups, and Chevrolet itself launched the Apache Fleetside, which essentially replaced the Cameo with a more affordable all-steel design. The 1955 Chevrolet Cameo Carrier was a sales experiment. But more importantly, it was a cultural shift. It proved that there was a market for pickups that weren't just for farmers and contractors. It was the truck that made it acceptable, even desirable, to drive a pickup as a personal vehicle. In many ways, the Cameo Carrier paved the road for modern luxury trucks like the Chevy Silverado High Country or Ford F-150 Platinum. The idea that a truck could be comfortable, stylish, and family-friendly can be traced directly back to this innovative machine. Number 5. 1950 Ford F-1 Pickup. The 1950 Ford F-1 pickup holds a special place in American automotive history. It wasn't just a workhorse, it was the foundation of what would eventually become the most successful truck lineup in the world, the Ford F-Series. When the F-1 launched in 1948, it marked a huge shift for Ford. This was Ford's first post-World War II pickup design, and it was the first time the company separated trucks from their car chassis. Before the F-1, most pickups were just modified cars with a bed attached. The F-1 was built from the ground up as a true truck, designed for durability and utility. By 1950, the F-1 had matured into a well-built, rugged vehicle that farmers, small business owners, and workers across America trusted. Why it mattered. 1. Purpose-built platform. The 1950 F-1 was part of Ford's revolutionary bonus-built series, meaning it was purpose-built as a truck, not as a car adaptation. This allowed for stronger frames, better suspension, and more hauling capacity. It was a turning point for pickup truck engineering. 2. Legendary flathead Vorse. 8 buyers could choose between a reliable inline-6 or Ford's famous flathead V8 engine, which made the truck more powerful and dependable than many of its competitors. The flathead V8 had earned its reputation in Ford cars, and when placed in a truck, it offered a solid combination of power and simplicity. 3. Classic styling. The F-1's design was clean, strong, and practical. It featured a wide, aggressive grille with horizontal bars, integrated headlamps and rounded fenders, which gave it a distinctive, timeless look. A spacious cab for the time, with better visibility and more comfort than pre-war trucks. Practical, reliable, and simple. The 1950 Ford F-1 was not fancy, and that's exactly why it became beloved. It was a truck built for work, with durable wooden bed floors with steel skid strips, manual steering and brakes, simple but easy to maintain. Minimal creature comforts, just a bench seat, basic gauges, and a rugged steel dashboard. But what it lacked in luxury, it made up for in reliability. The F1 earned a reputation as a truck that could take a beating, haul heavy loads, and keep going for years. The beginning of the F-Series legend. What makes the 1950 F1 so important is that it was one of the earliest steps in creating the Ford F-Series legacy. This simple, durable pickup helped pave the way for the F-100, the F-150, and eventually the Ford trucks that dominate American roads today. Without the success of the F1, the F-Series might not have become the powerhouse it is now. Number 4. 1957 Dodge Sweptside Pickup. The 1957 Dodge Sweptside pickup is one of the most unusual and overlooked trucks in American automotive history. It was Dodge's bold, and some would say desperate, attempt to compete with Chevrolet's stylish Cameo carrier, which was revolutionizing the pickup market by making trucks more than just work machines. Dodge didn't have time to develop an all-new design, so they improvised, creating what would become one of the rarest and most distinctive trucks of the 1950s. A truck born out of creativity and necessity. By the mid-1950s, American pickups were evolving. Trucks like the Chevy Cameo proved there was a growing market for pickups that didn't just work hard but looked good doing it. Dodge needed a response. Fast. Instead of designing a new body, Dodge's engineers cleverly grafted the rear fenders from Dodge's two-door station wagon onto the sides of their existing pickup bed. This gave the truck smooth, car-like lines with pronounced tail fins, which were all the rage in 1957. The result was the Sweptside pickup, a truck with a unique blend of classic truck toughness and flashy car-like styling. What made it special? 1. Iconic tail fins. The Sweptside was all about those bold, sweeping tail fins. In an era when cars like the Chevy Bel Air and Chrysler 300C were pushing styling limits, Dodge brought that same flair to the pickup world. These weren't subtle design cues. The tail fins were unmistakable. 2. Limited production. The Sweptside was only built from 1957 to 1959, and even during those years, sales were extremely low. Buyers weren't quite ready for a truck with this much style. As a result, very few Sweptsides were made, making them highly collectible today. 3. V8. Power. Under the hood, the Sweptside could be equipped with Dodge's 315 cubic inch V8 engine, providing decent power for the time. It wasn't a sports car, but it had enough muscle to handle typical truck duties while standing out at the job site. 4. Car-like features. Much like its competitor, the Chevrolet Cameo carrier, the Sweptside offered two-tone paint, chrome bumpers, and upgraded interiors. Dodge was clearly aiming to capture the growing market of suburban buyers who wanted their truck to make a statement. Why it disappeared. The Sweptside was ahead of its time, but also poorly timed. Buyers in the late 50s were still mostly looking for function, over form in their pickups. The demand for a stylish, personal-use truck didn't fully explode until decades later. Additionally, the cost of production was high due to the labor-intensive blending of passenger car and truck parts. Dodge's marketing wasn't as aggressive or as effective as Chevrolet's, which left the Sweptside in relative obscurity. By the end of the 1950s, Dodge discontinued the Sweptside in favor of more traditional trucks. Number 3. 1951 Studebaker II R-Series Pickup. The 1951 Studebaker II R-Series pickup is often overlooked in the history of classic American trucks, but it absolutely deserves more recognition. At a time when most pickups were built to be simple, boxy workhorses, Studebaker took a different path, combining functionality with bold, modern styling and surprising driver comfort. The result? One of the most distinctive and innovative trucks of the early 1950s. A groundbreaking design. When the 2R series was introduced in 1949, it was instantly recognizable. Unlike the more conservative designs from Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge, Studebaker's pickup featured a sleek aerodynamic front end with a low, sloped hood and a unique bullet nose shape that gave it a futuristic look. By the time the 1951 model came along, the truck had gained a reputation for being one of the most advanced pickups on the market. Key design highlights: one-piece curved windshield. This was rare for trucks in the early 50s and greatly improved visibility. Flush-mounted fenders. The design gave the truck a more streamlined appearance compared to the separate, protruding fenders seen on most competitors. Rounded cab and smooth lines. The cab was roomy and provided better ergonomics for the driver, an area where many trucks of the time still felt primitive. Built for more than just work. Studebaker's 2R series wasn't just about hauling. It was about driving comfort. The truck was lighter than many of its competitors, which made it easier to handle and more fuel-efficient. Its suspension was tuned to provide a smoother ride than the typical bone-jarring experience most pickups of the era delivered. Interior highlights. The 2R offered one of the most comfortable truck interiors of its time. It featured well-padded bench seats, full instrumentation, and an optional heater. The cab was wider and provided better shoulder room than many rivals. This was a truck that recognized that the driver's experience mattered, not just the payload capacity. Power and performance. Under the hood, the 1951 Studebaker 2R typically came with a 170 cubic inch inline-six engine, producing around 85 horsepower. It wasn't built for speed, but it was reliable and delivered solid performance for light to medium-duty work. Studebaker also offered an optional larger six-cylinder engine that provided more torque for heavier jobs. Why it faded away? Despite its innovative design and practical features, the Studebaker 2R series never reached the sales heights of Ford or Chevrolet. Why? Studebaker lacked the massive dealer and parts network that the Big Three enjoyed. In rural areas, people often stuck with brands they knew. Studebaker just didn't have that same level of brand loyalty in the truck segment. By the mid-1950s, competition intensified, and Studebaker couldn't keep up with the aggressive pricing and rapid model updates from its larger rivals. The 2R series was eventually replaced by the E series in 1954, but by then, Studebaker's truck division was losing ground fast. Number 2, 1957 Ford Ranchero. The 1957 Ford Ranchero wasn't just another truck. It was a game-changer. When Ford introduced the Ranchero, they didn't just launch a new vehicle. They created an entirely new segment in the American market, the car-based pickup. It was the first of its kind from a major U.S. automaker, a vehicle that blended the comfort and style of a sedan with the utility of a pickup. At the time, this was an unusual idea. Trucks were supposed to be rugged, simple work machines, while cars were for family cruising. The Ranchero blurred those lines and proved there was room in the market for a vehicle that could haul cargo and look good doing it. A car? A truck? Both. The 1957 Ford Ranchero was built on a passenger car platform, specifically the full-size Ford station wagon chassis. This gave it a lower ride height, smoother handling, and a more comfortable driving experience compared to traditional, body-on-frame pickups like the Ford F-Series. Key features: integrated bed. Unlike earlier truck conversions, the Ranchero's cargo bed was fully built into the body, giving it sleek, continuous lines. Passenger car. Comfort. It offered a full car interior with a smooth suspension, roomy seats, and car-like controls. Stylish design. The Ranchero didn't look like a boxy truck. It shared much of its front-end styling with the 1957 Ford Fairlane, complete with bold tail fins, chrome accents, and a low modern profile. For buyers who wanted utility without giving up comfort or style, the Ranchero was a perfect fit. Performance and practicality. The Ranchero wasn't just about looks, it could actually work. Payload capacity. It could carry up to 850 pounds, competitive with other small pickups of the time. Engine options. Buyers could choose from a range of engines, starting with a 223 cubic inch inline-six and going up to a powerful 292 cubic inch V8 for those who wanted a little more muscle under the hood. Easy driving. Unlike traditional pickups which rode high and handled like farm equipment, the Ranchero felt more like a sedan behind the wheel, much easier to park, steer, and cruise on the highway. The market's surprising reaction. At first, the Ranchero confused people. It was hard to categorize. Was it a car or a truck? Dealers weren't sure where to put it on their lots. But despite the uncertainty, the Ranchero struck a chord with urban buyers, small business owners, and tradespeople who didn't need a big truck but wanted something more versatile than a car. Ford sold over 21,000 units in the Ranchero's first year, a solid success that quickly inspired competition. Most notably, Chevrolet's El Camino, which wouldn't arrive until 2 years later in 1959. Number 1, 1947 Willys Overland Pickup. The 1947 Willys Overland Pickup is a truck that holds a quiet but important place in American automotive history. While Ford and Chevrolet were building traditional pickups, Willys, the company famous for creating the military Jeep, took a different path. They built something simple, rugged, and incredibly durable, designed to bring the toughness of a wartime vehicle into the everyday lives of farmers, workers, and rural Americans. This was one of the first purpose-built civilian pickups from Willys after World War II, and it helped establish the company's long-lasting reputation for building hard-working 4x4 vehicles. Built for simplicity and strength. Introduced in 1947, the Willys Overland pickup was built on the Jeep platform and heavily influenced by the military Jeeps that earned global respect during the war. Its design was brutally simple: flat panels, exposed hinges, and a utilitarian cabin. Key design features: flat fender styling, shared visual DNA with the Jeep CJ series, split windshield, a simple but functional design that was easy to manufacture and maintain. All-steel body. Unlike many wood-framed or composite-bodied pickups of the time, the Willys was all steel, which made it tougher and better suited for hard work. The truck didn't try to impress anyone with chrome or luxury. It was built to work, and it wore that honestly. Real off-road capability. One of the most important things about the 1947 Willys Overland pickup was that it was offered with four-wheel drive, something very few civilian trucks had at the time. While most American pickups in the late 40s were strictly two-wheel drive and meant for paved roads or mild dirt trails, the Willys could tackle muddy fields, steep rural roads, snowy terrain. This capability made the truck incredibly popular among farmers, ranchers, and small-town workers who needed more than just a smooth ride. They needed something that could handle real work in tough conditions. Performance and mechanics. Under the hood, the truck typically came with the Willys Go Devil 134 cubic inch inline-4 engine, the same engine that powered the legendary military Jeeps. While it only produced about 63 horsepower, it was known for being reliable, easy to repair, fuel efficient for its time. Later models would offer an optional inline-6, but even the base 4-cylinder had enough torque to get the job done, slowly but dependably. The truck used a 3-speed manual transmission and featured leaf spring suspension all around, giving it simple, rugged handling. Why it matters. The 1947 Willys Overland pickup wasn't flashy, and it wasn't built to compete with the bigger trucks from Ford or Chevy in terms of sales volume. But it filled a crucial gap. It gave American buyers one of their first factory-built four-wheel drive pickups. It brought the Jeep's legendary toughness to the civilian market. It helped set the stage for the pickup as a multi-purpose vehicle, something that could work all week and still drive into town on the weekend. Willys didn't try to make a city truck or a family hauler. They made a work truck, plain and simple,